Hello. In this series of parent functions, we will discuss about square root function. Fx equals to square root of x. Now, this is a very restricted function where, we cannot have negative values of x because for negative real numbers, square root is not defined. It is a complex number, right? So, we'll plot some values and draw the graph and see its characteristics. So let me make a table of values here. So I'll put x values and determine the function values of square root x. As you see, as you know also, that if we put negative values, for example, -1, we get -1 square root, not real, correct? So that's not possible. So we can have minimum 0. For 0, square root is 0. How about square root of 1? For square root of 1, the square root is 1. How about 2? If we write 2, we get square root 2, right? Square root 2 is not a whole number. It's a decimal number. And it's very difficult to plot decimal numbers on your graph. So let's avoid such numbers. Square root 3 is also a decimal number. We can take 4, correct? 4 square root is 2. Or we can go from this side. How about the square of 3? The square of 3 is 9 and square of 4, 16. So these are good points to take when we talk about square root function. Let's plot them. 0, here it is. 0, 0. 1, 1. 2, we will avoid. 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 9, 3. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. So this is 9, 3, okay? And then 16, 4. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the shape of our square root function. Let's join them. Correct? Yes, it looks like this. It opens towards the right side, correct? And it extends forever. It goes to infinity. So the end behavior is as x approaches infinity, y approaches infinity, correct? Now let's look into the characteristics of this function, right? Now what do you think? First and foremost, which we see is domain. What is domain? Domain is x belongs to real numbers such that x is greater than or equal to 0. Is that right? How about range? Range is also y belongs to real numbers such that y is greater than or equal to 0. So we have absolute minimum at 0, correct? We have absolute minimum. Let's write down some properties here. So we have absolute minimum at 0 origin, correct? And what is your x-intercept? X-intercept is x equals to 0. How about y-intercept? It is also 0. Do you see that? Correct. And now you see the graph. General feature of the graph is that it's in quadrant 1 and always increasing. Is that okay? Which of the function is always increasing? The very first one which you heard about was line, correct? Straight line is always increasing. In quadrant 1, parabola is always increasing also, correct? And end behavior, as x approaches infinity, y approaches infinity. So these are some basic characteristics of our square root function. Square root function is very important if we are really trying to understand transformations. because when you transform square root function, as it has limited domain and range, we have to be very careful, especially in performing transformations with minus square root x and within square root if we have minus. So look for videos on transformation of this function to really understand how exactly to do this. Okay, now we will compare few of our parent functions in quadrant 1. I'm not taking other quadrants because square root function has a domain which is greater than or equal to 0, and it is only there in quadrant 1. So we saw that the square root function can be drawn like this, right? And how about a line y equals to x? Y equals to x is a line which goes like this, right? Y equals to x. Here y equals to square root x. And we can have another line, a curve, for a parabola in quadrant 1. Y equals to x squared. Now, this is a very interesting question, normally asked in the test. If you have in quadrant 1, that is x greater than or equal to 0, y equals to x squared, y equals to x, and square root, y equals to square root, the three parent functions, then what are similarities and what are differences between them? One similarity, all have go through origin, correct? Second, this point. Can you tell me what is this point? This point is 1, 1, correct? 1 square is 1, 1 equals to 1, and square root of 1 is 1. So this point is common to all three functions. Can you tell me any other similarity? Yes, they all are increasing, correct? So they are increasing in quadrant 1. And one more, and behavior. As x approaches infinity, what happens to y value? The function value? The function value also increases to infinity. Fine, these are the similarities. And differences? Straight line, the other two are curves. Straight line doesn't bend, This opens towards the right and that opens towards top, opens upward. These are their differences. Okay? Now review other details in the other videos for all other parent functions. We have discussed straight line, parabola, reciprocal function, and square root function in this series of parent functions for grade 12. Okay, I think you understand the basics of this parent function, and in the next chapter we will see how we can get different functions by transforming them. Okay, thank you.